Welcome to Center Stage. I'm Mikhailo Curry. Today, in the first of series of reports on Ukrainian performers who are making a name for themselves on the international music scene, we feature Ukrainian-Canadian jazz pianist sensation, Mr. John Stech. John was born in Edmonton, Alberta, but currently makes his home in New York City. He travels and performs all over the world to rave reviews. His most recent accolade was the awarding of the prestigious Prix de Jazz at the Montreal Jazz Festival last year. Ladies and gentlemen, Center Stage proudly presents Mr. John Stech.
As with many other talented Canadian performers, for the sake of his career, John felt it necessary to move to New York City. Was this a difficult decision?
Well, in a way, it wasn't, because I wasn't getting any work in Montreal at that point. The Montreal jazz scene had really been dying, except for the jazz festival period, which is 2 weeks. So I tried out for some hotel gigs. I even tried singing, you know, and auditioning for those kind of things. Although that could be part of the demise also for me. Shouldn't have done that. And it really wasn't working out. And luckily I applied for a Canada Council grant and I got it, and it allowed me to be in New York for at least a year with no problem. Of course the problems start after that. But it's worth it being there for sure, because New York is so inspiring that you don't even have to really go out that much just to feel the electric energy in the air that sort of makes you want to practice, makes you want to grow, and you're always feeding off other artists. That's where I've learned probably the most. I think the difference between New York and some of the smaller cities in North America are that you can be in a city the size of 1 million or 2 million, and eventually you can become sort of one of the main dudes who will do all kinds of work. You know, they'll get the jingle work and the party scene and the well-paying cocktail parties, or the jazz gigs. In fact, they'll even bring in all the New York people and get to play with them, which I admire and I envy. But in New York, you tend to get pigeonholed as, oh, you're this style, you're a bebop style piano player, or you're this. I can't even get a regular, like a hotel lobby gig, because there's a certain echelon of people who have that sewn up, and there's no room for me to get in there. Not that I want that, I'm just saying it's more specific.
And
yeah.
Again, political as opposed to talent-based, the way they have it?
Sometimes, you know, because what happens is you get people that sometimes want to hire a certain person of a certain stature because it'll not only make them look good and sound good, but then that could bring up more people to the gig, and it could eventually lead them to more work. So sometimes they won't hire this person or this person who could be great also because of these political factors.
John was recently awarded the Prix de Jazz at the Du Maurier Jazz Festival in Montreal, a prestigious honor indeed.
I didn't expect to win. There's a lot of bands competing over 12 days, and I wonder how they can remember one group, you know, 10 days later. And also, I just come from playing at the Vegreville Festival, and there was more of a, I guess, more of a farmer crowd there, and so I don't think the solo piano at a sort of a Coliseum environment, at the grandstand environment, I don't think it worked as well. So I was a little down on that. And then going to the Montreal Festival and having such a great response was nice and surprising. And yeah, I thought that was great. So I was happy to have that prize, because it led to the new record, the new CD called Green Grove.
There is a lot of improvisation involved in jazz. But just how much leeway does a performer have with musical interpretation?
Even if you're doing a melody like, I mean, those are just the first few bars, but you could go start at that level, and then even the way I would do the touch and the volume and the dynamics and the articulation could make it already different, you know. Or for that last chord, I could have played. Or. You know, that's the thing about the piano is you have not only the different rhythms and you've got the whole range also. You could play something up here. Sometimes you can play the melody, but you can just embellish constantly in between. And then some people take it so far out that you might not even have to play the melody, because at least the jazz listeners out there, they know what you're playing anyways, because they can hear the chord structure go by.
John is a proud Ukrainian Canadian who has performed in Ukraine and keeps Ukrainian themes in his music to the delight of his audiences.
Actually, the non-Ukrainian audiences have really loved it, and one of my friends who's German, he heard it, and he said that the Cole Make a Fantasy record was his favorite of all my records, and he really likes it. And I've even played in a few Ukrainian situations where a couple people will come up and say, "Why did you bastardize the music like that?" You know. So, if anything, I'm getting good response from both sides. The great thing about playing for Ukrainians is that they recognize the melodies, and I always appreciate that.
And John Stetch's dreams for the future?
Dreams, probably to be able to be hooked up with a major record label so that you have more freedom to play your own music anywhere you want to, and you can get into some of the bigger venues in New York and get some exposure that way. And also another big dream has always been to just play with some of the great living jazz legends that are out there.
Canadian jazz sensation John Stetch has 5 recordings to his credit. They're available at your local Ukrainian record store. I'm Mikhailo Curie, center stage for Contact. See you next time.